Never thought I was allowed to bring it up in the first place for whatever reason. And I told myself that I spent so long going, this doesn't matter. Like, throw it away. This doesn't matter. Don't bring it up. Oh, there was a massive reckoning in the band. It was a reckoning of like us sitting down. It was literally the reason we cancelled the tour before this tour in the States. It was the first tour that we had booked back after COVID, and we just finished recording an album. And all of the pressure of everything that happened in COVID and making an album, and then the concept of starting back up in that environment that we had all like felt the tensions rising in, was like, what do we do? There's pressure to do a tour because that's what you do. But if we go on that tour, it will kill the band. It will kill the relationships that we have, and we will never be able to do this again. So what's the other option? And it was, we sat down and we realized that no one in the band was willing to listen to each other. We would literally just talk and go, yep, you said your thing, now I'm going to say my thing. That was it. There was no vulnerability at all, because we were taught that being vulnerable was being weak. Like, we're young men growing up in the 90s, early 2000s. Like, vulnerability is weakness. It's so stupid to say, but that's what you're taught. You're taught just not to show weakness, because that's just inviting like yourself to be torn down. Luckily, like Luke, our manager and guitarist, was like, we need someone else in this dynamic to help us navigate what we're going through, because we right now do not have the tools to even be able to listen to each other. So we got a therapist and we started going to counselling, and that was it. And he's helped us understand what we're going through, given us a space to be able to like have conversations with each other and understand each other, and help open up the vulnerability in it, which allows the support from within the band to come back in. Because, I mean, it's a pretty weird thing to say, but we're like, you're 5 people who live together and you don't feel supported by the people who are literally in the bunk next to you for 20 years. Like, they're in the bunk just across the aisle on the bus, and like, you feel like you don't know each other. That's when it feels really isolating. You're like, you spent your entire life going, like, doing some really amazing things and doing some absolutely insane, like, life-threatening things, and at the same point in time, you feel like a stranger. The vulnerability, the like don't show vulnerability, is a conditioning that starts very, very young. It starts with like, harden up, don't cry, kid, just man up. Like, that's it. And as men especially, like most stereotypical archetypes of the 90s and 2000s and everything going further, that was literally just like, life's hard, you got to deal with it. The way to deal with it is by hardening up. And what hardening up does is like, it doesn't allow the support to come in. That's the thing. And that's where the isolation begins, because like, we're social creatures. People are social creatures. We're supposed to let each other in. We're supposed to be a community, but a community is not just like isolated, like strong, hard pieces of iron just hammered into a hard ground. It's a community that grows together. If you don't allow that, you don't allow for the growth, and everyone just stands there and is hard, and they teach that severity to the next generation. And there's obviously a place for strength and showing resolve, but there's a difference between resolve and just shutting down. And that's kind of what it is, because if you don't know any other way of dealing with difficulty other than just shutting down and like repressing everything, then it just, all that does is it builds up in different ways, like resentment, hostility, like pushing things out, confusion, all of those things that could be countered by simply saying, I don't understand this and I need some help from someone, and someone else going, I hear you, and I'll, like, if you let me in, I'll help you out, I'll be there, I'll support you. You have nothing, but it will come out in other ways. It will come out in anger. It will come out in far more negative ways of living, simply because you have no other path, because you were just taught, shut it, harden up.